Hi everyone. I hope you all doing well. I'm just gonna get Coach Nicole to join us today, and today we will be able to start talking about self-respect. But just give me a second. Let me see how I can. Okay, maybe I can. Nicole, if it's gonna work. This is my first time doing a live with Nicole using my own Instagram. I have done lives before with Nicole, but it was on her Instagram. But this is the first time I'm using mine. Hi,
Hello.
Nicole.
Hi.
Welcome. Do you want to introduce?
Welcome. I just wanted to make sure that my Wi-Fi was properly attached because we had a problem that one time, remember? So
Yeah.
hopefully I got it right. I think I did.
No, the connection
So,
is really good, so nothing to worry about. So I'll get you to introduce yourself. Welcome to my Instagram account or page.
hi. Happy to be here. My name's Nicole Bigelow. I am the creator of a company called The Living Well, and I'm a resilience coach for those that are trying to overcome narcissistic abuse or domestic violence. Most people don't realize that narcissistic abuse is indeed domestic violence. So I spread awareness about the different varieties of domestic violence there are, and how to build coping skills and how to overcome adversity. And it's an important thing that a lot of people don't realize they really need and that they can develop to help themselves and avoid having this issue going forward. So,
Amazing.
thanks for
Thank you.
having me.
You're doing an amazing job, Nicole, with that.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna introduce myself for the new followers, just in case you don't know me. I can see a lot of new faces. So my name is Samar, and I'm a relationship and a therapist, and I specialize in helping women overcoming toxic relationships, feeling confident again, having self-worth and boundaries, and attracting their dream relationship. So, and today we're gonna be talking about self-respect. So let's get started and think about what does it mean for me to have self-respect. Let's have a definition of self-respect. With me, it's just respecting my boundaries, respecting my standards, knowing my worth, never settling for less, and knowing what I deserve. I think that's more of, knowing what you deserve and not settling for less. What about you, Nicole? How would you define
Totally.
self-respect?
Well, according to WikiHow, let's start there. It says that how to respect yourself is to develop healthy relationships, find your worth, learn and find yourself and find your own value, and to be happy with yourself and to figure out how you deserve to be treated. For me, I think in my particular industry, people don't realize how important it is to stop and take time to figure this out for yourself, because we're so hyper focused on the narcissist or our toxic relationship or just the chaos in our lives, just surviving. We don't really spend the time thinking about our self-confidence, self-respect, self-esteem. That's not something you really care about or think about that much. And if you ask somebody, they'll go, or if you asked me, I would have said, oh yeah, I care about myself. I mean, what kind of question is that? Of course we care about ourselves, but most people don't take the time to really think about what does that really look like? How is that really affecting me? Because really it's the core issue in any toxic relationship. There's usually two people who really need to work on their own relationship with themselves first. This usually started in their childhood that culminates in their adulthood, causes relationship issues in adulthood.
That's exactly right. And when it comes to self-respect, it's all about knowing yourself, like you mentioned, and having a good relationship with yourself.
Yeah.
Because Nicole, I think, how you view yourself and how much you respect yourself sets the bar for every relationship in your life. So if you don't respect yourself enough, you're already giving this image out to your partner or, to your family or even your friends that you don't respect yourself enough. You don't stand up for yourself. You don't know when enough is enough. You don't know when to have limits. And and you're already giving out this image. So your relationship with yourself is the main relationship of your life. And if you don't have a good relationship with yourself, how can you love someone? How can how can you be with someone and be yourself? Otherwise you're gonna just seek validations from others, because you don't know your worth, you don't know your value. And self-respect is all about valuing yourself and knowing your worth and knowing what you deserve. And you're actually a living reflection of how you want others to treat you. So if you don't treat yourself well, and you don't respect yourself in the way you want others to respect you, things wouldn't change, because you're just giving them this image, I don't respect myself, I don't care about myself, I don't have boundaries, I don't have limits. So therefore you're actually working against yourself, and that's when you need to change something. And sometimes change can be scary, but that's the only way to overcome what's holding you back.
Totally. And the narcissist is actually scanning us. And those they think do not have a good self-respect or self-confidence or even know their true value. They're actually looking for individuals like that so that they can capitalize on their weaknesses, is how they see it. So they see us as easy prey. So this is also an encouraging concept for those that are, not interested in focusing on that part of their life or thinking about that or taking a moment to reflect on their relationship with yourself, because, are we making ourselves a target to narcissistic abuse? Not that nobody ever deserves, please don't misconstrue what I'm saying. Nobody ever deserves it. No one ever does anything to validate abuse, but it is when we don't take time to cultivate strong self-confidence and self-esteem, then it will be used against us by predators. And so that's the objective there. Yeah.
Exactly right. We're not here to blame anyone for not knowing their worth or knowing their self-respect, but instead we're telling you how to overcome this. Like, if you don't know yourself, if you don't respect yourself enough, it's not your fault, but you become an easy target to someone who's a narcissist or to toxic relationships, because they can't be with someone who respects themselves. Someone who's a narcissist can't be with someone who loves themselves, can't be with someone who knows their value, or stand up for themselves and have boundaries. But if you struggling with loving yourself, knowing your value, therefore you become an easy target, and you tend to don't know your worth, or you think it's okay. And that comes down to, like you mentioned, Nicole, childhood trauma, and not feeling good enough about yourself your whole life because you've been told you're not good enough. You didn't have the love of your parents, for example. You weren't respected as a child, so you think it's okay, but it's actually not. And that's where me and Nicole come in and encourage you to start knowing your worth and give you that motivation to take this next step in your life by knowing your worth, knowing that it's not okay. Whatever happened in your childhood is not okay, and it does affect you in your adulthood, but you need to start taking actions and change your life.
So how do we do that? Well, it turns out when we're children, we're supposed to go through this natural process where as we grow and we evolve emotionally, we're supposed to learn who we are as people. And we learn that by figuring out our likes, our dislikes, our feelings, our thoughts, our true desires. And those factors actually produce our identity or who we are as a person. But because of one reason or another, a lot of us didn't go through that process properly because of childhood trauma or abuse or a variety of other reasons. So we weren't allowed or given the proper uh, resources necessary to culminate that kind of growth. But as an adult, you actually have the capacity to go backwards and figure that out now. So you don't have to continue to feel this way or suffer in the ways that we're suffering by having a lower vision of ourselves than what is necessary. So, and we start by doing that by getting back in touch. Well, first of all, by taking our attention off the narcissist long enough to be able to start to look at ourselves. So a shift has to take place, because everybody who's with a narcissist is hyper focused on the narcissist and what he's doing and when he's doing it and when he's going to do it again, or she. Please, I get messages like 40 times a day telling me, Don't you know guys are victims of narcissistic abuse? Yes.
We
Just
we know.
loud and clear. Yes, I do, because I know them very well. I'll just say that. So the reality is, though, no matter if they're a man or female or whatever, the reality is that we have to shift our focus. We are hyper focused on them, and that is to our own detriment. So we must shift that and start to get to know ourselves. What do you really want? Instead of being a people pleaser and focusing on making everybody else happy, what are your true values and wants and desires and needs? And, you know, who figure that out for yourself, and then start to work on building a relationship with yourself. And that takes time and energy, like every other relationship, right?
Exactly right. And I think to add with this, of course, get to know yourself, who you are, what makes you who you are today. Know what you love about yourself, what you're good at, know your own struggles, acknowledge yourself, get to know yourself. We spend a lot of time getting to know others, but what about yourself? Do you really know yourself? Because, your relationship with yourself is the main relationship of your life. And after that, the next step, I think, Nicole, is to start establishing boundaries and limits for yourself about what you will accept and not accept. But first, of course, you need to get to know yourself. You need to rebuild your identity, because your identity has been, framed around your partner who was maybe a narcissist, or your ex who was a narcissist or toxic, or a toxic person. So you need to start reframing your identity and getting to know the true authentic self, your true authentic self. And after that, you need to start setting limits for yourself and others about what you will accept and not accept in a relationship, what you will tolerate or not tolerate from others, and start taking actions. Because if they don't respect you, most likely they're not going to listen to you, they're not going to respect what you have in place, then it's time for you to move on. It's about taking actions and having that strength after knowing yourself and gaining your confidence back. And I think this is an important step, is to establish boundaries and know your limits.
Totally. And starting to see your life as something worth protecting, something valuable, something that you've worked hard to cultivate, like something that is worthwhile, right? Because we only get one life, we only get one opportunity, one body, one self. We're not going to get another one. And each life is valuable. Every life on the planet is valuable. And just because we were born, we deserve to be respected and validated and treated with dignity and love and honor. And so, but it's our responsibility to make sure that we're treated that way. No one else is going to make that a reality. We have to make sure that that's the truth. And so boundaries will do that for you. And actually, boundaries are the antidote to abuse and narcissistic abuse, because narcissists cannot survive in that environment, because boundaries will stifle them out, because they don't do well when you tell them no. They will not do well at all. They will
Exactly.
throw fits, tantrums. They will disappear because they won't continue to get away with bad behavior. So that's ultimately what ends up happening. And I think sometimes people misconstrue, or maybe this is my own upbringing, catching up with me. But sometimes I feel like we talk about, having boundaries, sticking up for yourself, and having self-love sounds so selfish. But really, if you don't take care of yourself in your life, we're talking about extreme necessities here. We're not talking about, demanding to have your way or putting other people behind you, right? We're talking about making sure that you're getting your basic essential necessities met, because you're important too, just like everybody else, and nobody deserves to be abused, period. And then when you are being cared for properly, then you're going to be the version of yourself that your family deserves, that your friends deserve, that your world deserves. But if you're depleted and undernourished and not being taken care of, then you will be grouchy and resentful and angry and just not a happy person. So then you're not able to give your family what they deserve either. So nobody wins.
Exactly right, Nicole. I couldn't agree more. We're talking about you taking control over your life and knowing what you deserve. We're talking about extreme situations where you're just being taken advantage of, you don't know your worth, you're settling for less, you're always over giving, 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 and not getting anything in return.
Right.
And it's not only this is the case when you're in a toxic relationship. Even if you're in a healthy relationship, imagine that you don't know your worth. You don't know what you deserve. You just don't have that self-respect for yourself. Even if your partner was healthy, do you think they want to carry your weight and keep checking on you every moment of the day and say, are you okay? Do you need anything? Or do you want them to validate you 24/7? Or do you want to have your self-worth from within? We, in both ways, whether you're in a toxic relationship, whether you're in a healthy relationship, whether you're leaving a toxic relationship, you need to understand, if you don't have self-worth, if you don't have self-respect, you're running into the danger of not knowing who you are and detaching from the world, and you're gonna be carried away with your own imagination, and you don't even know what's going on around you, because all you want to hear, oh, you're doing okay, you're doing a great job, you're good, thank you for doing this. You seek these validations and you don't get to know yourself. Even in healthy relationships, this doesn't work. And that's why we're telling you to, get to know yourself, set limits, take control over your life, because you're only responsible for your own happiness. You're not responsible for others' happiness around you. Stop focusing on others and shift the attention towards you. It's not being selfish, but instead, it's about you taking care of yourself so you can take care of others. How can you take care of others if you can't take care of yourself?
That's true. Very good point. Yeah. The other thing, too, I think that people should consider is making sure that your actions and your choices are worthy of self-respect. Because you're not going to be able to look yourself in the mirror or feel good about the decisions you make or who you are as a person if you're making choices that are disrespectful to yourself anyways, right? Like taking somebody back who perpetually cheats on you or abuses you or lies to you, or or being a liar or a cheater or a scoundrel yourself. You're not going to feel very good about yourself if you're doing raunchy things. So there's that component. So in order to feel good about yourself, you have to be doing things and living your life in a manner that feels worthy of feeling like you can respect yourself. Yeah.
And honoring your identity. So that's what you need to do. You start honoring your identity, and of course living by example and leading by example. And when you make the choices, they need to be based on, dignity, fairness, and and being the best vision of yourself. We're not talking about just saying, you know what, I'm gonna establish self-respect today by telling everyone to just go away and not talk to me. And this is not the way. You live by example. You honor your own decisions and make your best choices about life, and you base it on fairness, the dignity, values, and knowing yourself and knowing your values and knowing what you stand for. And that's a great point, Nicole. That's amazing that you mentioned.
And then once you know that, you can accept yourself for who you are too. I mean, we all have the qualities that we like about ourselves, and then we have things we know we need to work on. So instead, so many of us have this inner dialogue that is constant negativity, and all we do is focus on what's wrong with ourselves 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that breeds self-contempt, it breeds low self-esteem, and that's what the narcissist does too. So it's really hard to not do that to yourself when you're still with someone like that, or you were raised in that way. So you have to train yourself to start looking at yourself for what you do well, pay attention to what you don't do well, and then, live with it for the now and say, okay, I understand, I've got things to work on, and I am working on them, and work on them, and do your best to make changes, try to pursue actively growing into the best version of yourself. But then at night, you can go to bed at night knowing that you're doing your best. You really are doing your best. You really are pursuing your best course. And then you can rest easy in the fact that, yeah, you're not perfect, but you are doing everything you can do every day to make your life the best version you can.
I couldn't agree more with this, Nicole. And also forgiving yourself, or forgiving the other person who did something wrong to you. Forgiveness has nothing to do with the other person that you're forgiving. It has a lot to do with you. It's about freeing yourself as well. So if you didn't respect yourself in the past, it's time to start forgiving yourself and reflecting back. But at the same time, you need to free yourself. If you wake up in the morning and you feel like there's a lot of resentment, there's a lot of anger, you still feel the anger, it's time for you to start accepting and forgiving. And forgiving has, like I said, nothing to do with the other person. It's about you wanting to free yourself. It's not about agreeing or approving that your ex's actions were right or what they did is okay. It's about you accepting their situation and forgiving the person so you can free yourself and have that inner peace. So you can start focusing on building your self-worth, your self-value, and start valuing yourself and valuing your life.
So good. I agree. Forgiveness is about accepting reality, right? And accepting the fact that this happened or this person has a disorder. So if you're with a narcissist, you forgive by accepting that this person has a disorder that's bigger than you, that's bigger than them, and that you have to protect yourself from them because they're abusive. But that doesn't mean you have to carry this constant resentment around that's just eating you alive, right? The person's already moved on. They're not involved anymore. So we can let go with that idea, just understanding that we're accepting it for the way it was and we have to let go. But we don't condone or, justify the bad behavior. And I really do believe justice will prevail somehow, some way. Anyway, I really do believe it does.
Especially when you attracted a narcissist in the past, it wasn't your fault. It had to do a lot with your childhood, the way you were raised. So it's time to forgive yourself and forgive the other person and start working on being the best version of yourself by respecting yourself, loving yourself. And keep in mind that you can do this. You're able to take control over your life. You're worthy, you're enough, and you deserve the best. Keep reminding yourself.
Totally, you are worthy and you do deserve the best. And it's hard to know our value if someone hasn't told us. So I think that's why it's worth looking into and figuring that out for yourself. Am I valuing myself? Am I demanding that those around me treat me with respect? And that's not like you walk around with an attitude saying, you better respect me or else. It's like you said, setting boundaries and holding people accountable when they don't. And I'm talking deal breakers with the boundaries. We're not talking like, oh, you leave your socks on the floor, and so therefore that's disrespectful. No, I'm talking about full-blown hardcore, you don't lie to me, you don't cheat on me, you don't hit, scream, yell, or throw things at me. Things that are like serious deal breakers for people are important, and everybody deserves to be treated those in the very important ways. So
Exactly right, Nicole. I couldn't agree more with you on this. And I just want to remind everyone, just start loving yourself. Start somewhere. Even if you take small actions, okay? Let's say today I started, reminding myself I'm worthy, and I started reframing my thoughts, or challenging the negative thoughts that others made me believe in. That's, a step that you can take today that will that skills that you need, all the skills you need a lot of skills, especially when you're leaving a narcissist. You need all the skills that you need to know. And and by respecting yourself, this is the first step that you want to take, is knowing your worth, respecting yourself.
totally. And turning your attention off the narcissist and start focusing on yourself, what you want, what you need, where your life is going, your choices, your right to decide who gets to be in your life and who doesn't, and your safety and your mental and physical, emotional well-being is important. And it's your responsibility to maintain and make sure that those are taken care of, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're in charge of making sure you take care of your mental health, because let me tell you something, no one will understand what you're going through other than yourself. Even though you can seek support and stuff like that, but you need to start taking charge and taking full responsibility for your own mental health. Of course, you can gain support by seeking clarity, okay? Seeking, what to do next. How can I develop the skills that I need? But who's in charge of their lives? you you need to take charge of your life, and the first step is by saying enough is enough, and I'm going to respect myself.
Yes, and just know you're not going to want to do this because by nature, we are hyper focused on the narcissist or chaos or trauma. We are we're distracted. So it's going to feel uncomfortable and it's going to feel abnormal and you're going to resist it. But really it's the only chance we have at something changing because we're not going to change the narcissist. We have no control over other people. We don't have control over a lot of factors outside of us, but we do have control over what's going on inside, internally, and our own lives and our own choices. And that's where our power lies. But you're not going to feel like you have the courage or the energy to be able to do that if you don't see the value in your own life and you don't have see your own worth and you don't see your life as something worth protecting, and you're not going to have it. So the antidote really is shifting the focus off of them onto yourself and rebuilding up that core sense of self again so that you have the wherewithal and the energy to be able to handle the situation appropriately.
And no, it will make you a stronger person as well. It will give you the strength after leaving a narcissist or a toxic relationship and gaining your skills. You will be so strong, stronger than you would ever thought about yourself. You don't know how strong you are until you take actions.
Totally. All of us come out wiser, stronger, more humble. We've learned, we've rebuilt life with a new appreciation. And it changes you. And I also feel like we will continue to make the same mistakes till we learn the lesson and we stop making that mistake. And then for me, that was my reality. So I kept getting in the same relationship over and over again. And I thought I did the work. I knew tons about narcissism and toxic relationships and abuse. And then I ended up in more and more relationships the same. So I really had to stop focusing on the outside and really start looking inside and figuring out what was going on with me. Even though I don't believe we're broken or people are weak or there's so much negative innuendos that talk for survivors, but really it's just that something needs to be adjusted. Something you're doing isn't working for you. There needs to be a shift because the way that you were programmed or taught or trained by your family more than likely isn't serving you. And so you're going to have to learn a different way of doing that. And that's the beauty of being an adult. So we have the capacity to learn and decide for ourselves how we're going to go forward. And the brain has this innate capacity to learn something new forever. So if we don't like what we're living in, we have the ability to keep learning something new over and over again so we get better results. But we have to do the work and we have to show up and we have to have the courage to do it.
Exactly right. I couldn't agree more, Nicole. And I wondered the same, why I was attracting the wrong relationships into my life, what was going on. And you don't learn until you take time to reflect. So we don't learn from the experience that we go through. We learn from the time we spend reflecting back on what happened and reflecting back and learning what we can take for the next step. And that's exactly right. We don't learn by just going through the experience. We learn from going back and reflecting and understanding where we went wrong, what can we change, what's the next step for us, and then we start accepting, forgiving ourselves and forgiving others. And after that we start, like you said, reframe what you have been taught. As an adult, you have the power to reframe your life, change everything that you were taught that was wrong, and and start building your skills to have the best life that you deserve.
Exactly. I totally agree with it. Couldn't say it better myself, Samar.
You said well, anything else you want to add, Nicole? I think that was amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all of this information.
I just can't read. So just one last thing I just want to say about codependents and narcissists. So usually if you're with a narcissist, you're a codependent. And if you're a codependent, then part of being a codependent really derives from being hyper-focused on the narcissist. So when we're telling you things like focus on yourself and do self-love and focus on caring for your needs and rebuilding your relationship with yourself, you're going to reject this and you're going to fall asleep and you're going to change the channel. But really, this is the antidote to abuse and narcissistic abuse and the pain that they're suffering. So if we could just get people to recognize that being a codependent and being stuck in a narcissistic relationship or a toxic one by nature makes us hyper focused on them. So by listening to what we're telling you as survivors, those that have overcome it and come out, know that we're telling you what you need to know so that you can heal and get past this. Because otherwise, what usually happens is people do end up either staying with a narcissist or getting back in one toxic relationship over after another. And I see this over and over again. I saw this in my own life and also in my practice. And so I can't beat that over the dead horse hard enough. The reality is it really is learning how you contributed to this problem, and then how to make shifts in your own programming, your own belief system, and your own thoughts and the way you treat yourself, so that when you do meet someone who's problematic in the future, you have strong boundaries, you know your value and your worth, and you will strategically sit that person out and watch them walk by and wait for a healthy partner to show up.
That's exactly.
Yes.
That because you're not focused on yourself, you're focused on them, and then when you're focused on them, you're not going to take control over your life. And that's exactly right, Nicole. You're very right about this.
We want to keep controlling the narcissist, but they're uncontrollable, so we have to learn the only one we have control over is ourselves and our own choices. So there's where the focus needs to go.
That's exactly right, Nicole. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for watching. If you have any questions, leave the questions below, and I'm gonna be able to answer you back after this call. But thank you all for watching. And Nicole, you're amazing. And I love the things you do.
You too, Samar. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.